Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 33, titled Activities of Kapila, Text 3 and Text 4. Text 3. Sa eva vishvasya bhavan vidatte gunapravahena vibhakta virya sargadhyaniho avitata visandir atmeshvaro tarkya sahasra shakti. स एव विश्वस्य भवान् विदत्ते गुणप्रवाहेन विभक्तवीर्य सर्गाद्यनीहो वितता विसन्ध्येर् अवितता विभसन्ध्येर् आत्मेश्वरो तर्क्य सहस्रशक्ति. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. My dear Lord, although personally you have nothing to do, you have distributed your energies in the interactions of the material modes of nature. And for that reason, the creation, maintenance, and dissolution of the cosmic manifestation take place. My dear Lord, you are self-determined and are the Supreme Personality of Godhead for all living entities. For them, you created this material manifestation. And although you are one, your diverse energies can act multifariously. This is inconceivable to us. Purport. The statement made in this verse by Devahuti that the Absolute Truth has many diverse energies, although he personally has nothing to do, is confirmed in the Upanishads. There is no one greater than him or on an equal level with him, and everything is completely done by his energy, as if by nature. It is understood herein, therefore, that although the modes of material nature are entrusted to different manifestations like Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, each of whom is particularly invested with different kinds of power, the Supreme Lord is completely aloof from such activities. Devahuti is saying, although you personally are not doing anything, your determination is absolute. There is no question of your fulfilling your will with the help of anyone else besides yourself. You are, in the end, the Supreme Soul and the Supreme Controller. Your will, therefore, cannot be checked by anyone else. The Supreme Lord can check others' plans. As it is said, man proposes and God disposes. But when the Supreme Personality of Godhead proposes, that desire is under no one else's control. He is absolute. We are ultimately dependent on Him to fulfill our desires. But we cannot say that God's desires are also dependent. That is His inconceivable power. That which may be inconceivable for ordinary living entities is easily done by Him. And in spite of His being unlimited, He has subjected Himself to being known from the authoritative scriptures like the Vedic literatures. As it is said, Shabda Moolatvat. He can be known through the Shabda Brahma or Vedic literature. Why is the creation made? Since the Lord is the Supreme Personality of Godhead for all living entities, He created this material manifestation for those living entities who want to enjoy or lord it over material nature. As the Supreme Lord Godhead, He arranges to fulfill their various desires. It is confirmed also in the Vedas, Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadati Kaman. The Supreme One supplies the necessities of the many living entities. There is no limit to the demands of the different kinds of living entities, and the Supreme One, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, alone maintains them and supplies them by His inconceivable energy. Text 4. Sattvam brito me jatarena nada katam nu yashodaraye tadasid Vishvam yugante vatapatra yeka shete smama yashishur angripanaha Sattvam brito me jatarena nata katam nu yashodaraye tadasid Vishvam yugante vatapatra ekah shete smama yashishur angripanaha. Translation. As the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you have taken birth from my abdomen. O my Lord, how is that possible for the Supreme One, who has in his belly all the cosmic manifestation? The answer is that it is possible. For at the end of the millennium, you lie down on a leaf of a banyan tree, and just like a small baby, you lick the toe of your lotus foot. Purport. At the time of dissolution, the Lord sometimes appears as a small baby lying on a leaf of a banyan tree, floating on the devastating water. Therefore, Devahuti suggests, your lying down within the abdomen of a common woman like me is not so astonishing. You can lie down on the leaf of a banyan tree and float on the water of devastation as a small baby. It is not very wonderful, therefore, that you can lie down in the abdomen of my body. You teach us that those who are very fond of children within his material world and who therefore enter into marriage to enjoy family life with children can also have the Supreme Personality of Godhead as their child. And the most wonderful thing is that the Lord Himself licks His toe. Since all the great sages and devotees apply all energy and all activities in the service of the lotus feet of the Lord, there must be some transcendental pleasure in the toes of His lotus feet. The Lord licks His toe to taste the nectar for which the devotees always aspire. Sometimes the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself wonders how much transcendental pleasure is within Himself, and in order to taste His own potency, He sometimes takes the position of tasting Himself. Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself, but he appears as a devotee to taste the sweetness of the transcendental mellow in himself, which is tasted by Srimati Radharani, the greatest of all devotees. End of purport. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. I humbly seek the blessings of all assembled Vaishnavas, and thank you for the opportunity to purify myself by reading and summarizing from Srimad Bhagavatam. So I'll try to summarize today's verses based on Srila Prabhupada's purport and a lecture I heard on this topic from a senior devotee. And please forgive if I add my own interpretation to the summary. So we are in this third canto, towards the end of third canto, and we are seeing how Devahuti, after receiving instructions from her son, Kapiladev, is very satisfied and is now glorifying her own son. And now she's seeing him as the Supreme Lord. So we saw how in the earlier part of Canto 3, we saw the marriage between Kardama Muni and Devahuti, and then they were a very ideal couple. And then Kardama Muni left, handing over Devahuti to their son, Kapiladev. And then we saw from chapter 25 onwards how Kapiladev started instructing for his mother, and then how he explained the whole process of the living entity coming into the material world, how one can practice devotion service through the process of Sankhya Yoga, and then in this very body, how one can even reach back to Godhead. And he gives a lot of instructions about what to do, what not to do, and how to execute devotion service primarily. And then we will see towards the end of this chapter that also Kapiladev leaves, and then Devahuti then basically performs devotion service as instructed, and then also perfects her life by going back to Godhead. So one important message that comes out here is that, like in this particular chapter, we see how Devahuti is glorifying Kapiladev, and again she's not glorifying for any material desire or without any ulterior motive. She's just she heard the instructions from Kapiladev, and then she's so much full of gratitude now, and then she's just glorifying Kapiladev as the Supreme Lord. And we see here how in text 3 she glorifies that although you have distributed your energies in interactions of the material needs of nature, and for that reason creation, maintenance, and dissolution of the cosmic manifestation takes place, my dear Lord, you are self-determined and are the Supreme Person of Godhead. For them, you created this material manifestation, and although you are one, your diverse energies can act multifariously. This is inconceivable to us. So in this purport, Prabhupada basically talks about how primarily why the material creation is made. mainly because we wanted to enjoy in separation from Krishna. So Krishna is favoring that. And Prabhupada focuses on this inconceivable uh, uh, term, or he stresses on the inconceivable power of the Supreme Lord. So we see here that it's very bewildering and contradictory when we hear about the Supreme Lord, that when he basically is the source of everything and he's still aloof from everything. And even here we see how Prabhupada says that man proposes and God disposes, but when the Supreme Personality of Godhead proposes, that desire is under no one else's control. He is absolute. We are ultimately dependent on him to fulfill our desires. And Prabhupada makes this comment that which may be inconceivable for ordinary living entities is easily done by him. And this is not only applicable to the Supreme Lord, but even Srila Prabhupada, we know that it is very inconceivable what he did. We may have heard it so many times that Prabhupada traveled so many times around the world, and Prabhupada wrote so many books, Prabhupada opened so many temples, he created thousands of devotees. And because we have heard it so much, the inconceivable factor has been diluted. But actually, if you see, Prabhupada has performed such inconceivable activities. So if a pure devotee can do such inconceivable activities, what about the Supreme Lord? Um, and there is one pastime that Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj shared, that before he met Srila Prabhupada, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj was associating with different gurus, and he was specifically attached to or associated with one guru who was like a mystic yogi. And then Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj was with him, and then one time the guru, he told Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj that because at one point Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj was calling him Jagat Guru. And then this guru was very kind of offended, and he said, "No, you cannot call me Jagat Guru. If there is one Jagat Guru, there is only Srila Prabhupada." So, and then Bhakti Maharaj was like very shocked, and he's like, "Oh, how is this guru glorifying another guru?" And then Bhakti Maharaj remembered that whenever this guru would instruct him, he would always refer to Srila Prabhupada. And at that time, Bhakti Maharaj did not register that name. But then at this point, this guru told Bhakti Maharaj that, I mean, if there is one Jagat Guru, or Jagat Guru of all Jagat Gurus is Srila Prabhupada, and you have access to this personality in this world right now, so go approach him. And that's when Bhakti Maharaj went to him. And then this guru also told him that because you had so many desires and subtle desires and different doubts about this whole process, I trained you to get purified of that, and then now you are qualified to go approach Srila Prabhupada. So that's how Bhakti Maharaj finally approached Srila Prabhupada, and then we know the rest is all history. But yeah, so I mean, when I heard this last time, I was so I don't know, maybe blessed and feel fortunate that we are in touch with Srila Prabhupada directly at an early part of our devotional practice, and we should be so fortunate. So there is another interesting pastime to just understand the inconceivable potency of Lord Krishna. So one time Krishna goes to Narada Muni, and he asks Narada Muni, "Are there still devotees around in this material world? Can you show me take me to some devotees to understand how they are?" So Narada Muni takes first Krishna to this wealthy person. So this wealthy person gives a lot of charity, and then every day from like morning 10 to 1, he gives charity. So Krishna and Narada Muni go to this person disguised as sadhus. So they reach a little late after like 1 p.m., and then the guards close the door, and they basically do not let these sadhus inside. So they plead, Narada Muni or Krishna says, "Oh, please let us go in," and the guards don't let them in. The guards say that, "Oh, the Seth Ji, or the wealthy person, is very strict. He only donates from 10 to 1, and if you want, come back later next time." So Narada Muni and Krishna come out, and then Krishna murmurs something, and then Narada Muni asks, "What does he murmur?" And then Krishna says that he was just blessing the wealthy person to have more and more of wealth. And Narada Muni is like surprised. "Oh, Krishna, we just got kicked out. Why are you blessing him like that?" But they just kept going, and then they went next to like a old woman who was like a poor old woman's house. This old woman was like just welcoming. They just randomly went to her house and then was very welcoming. She made some preparation. She offered him, and she was also glorifying. She was explaining how she practices bhakti, and she had a cow and she had one son, and then she was also appreciating how the cow is helping her in bhakti and how her son is helping her in bhakti. And she was very satisfied person, although she was in a poor condition. And then Krishna comes out and then blesses or murmurs again. And then when Narada Muni asks what, then Krishna says, "Oh, I just blessed her that let the cow and the son soon detach from her or soon die, so that she can come to me." He just blessed that let the cow and son die. So Narada Muni was very shocked. I mean, in the previous case, you blessed him with more wealth, and in this case, you're like blessing her with like kind of bad news. And then Krishna again explained that in the previous case, the wealthy person was very much attached to doing charity because he wanted to make sure his future is bright, and he had this all good piety in him, so his next births can be good. But in this case, the woman is very much close to me. She's like the only two things that are separating her from reaching me is basically her son and the cow. So I just wanted them to be away from her, and then she can come back to me in this very life. So this kind of shows how inconceivable Krishna's pastimes are. And so the point here is that the Lord reciprocates, and we may not understand his reciprocation, and we may criticize him at some situations that, oh, why is Krishna doing this and that? Why is he not? Is he even there? We might wonder, we might doubt. But again, his potencies are inconceivable, and as long as we are in the right path, if we have faith in the process of hearing chanting, he will protect us. And there is one last pastime I wanted to share that I heard again. There was one devotee who was practicing Krishna consciousness for some time, and I mean he was still a devotee, and he wanted to basically explore biking. So he was really fond of biking long distances in the U.S. So he basically bought a bike, and then he was just biking on by himself in a very deserted area. Like there was nobody for like hundreds of miles. It was just him on the bike, and that was his kind of passion. So he was biking, and then he was in this deserted place, and then there was suddenly a gang of bikers who came and then surrounded him. So there were like 20 or 30 people, and then they were like well built, and then they and this happens in US. I've heard other stories too, that they come and then they kind of get everything from you. They kind of rob you of everything, and then they just went. So this person did not have anything. He was like literally without anything, and then he was in this desert, stranded. And then at that time, he had this doubt that, oh, I mean, I practice so much Krishna consciousness. Why is this happening to me? I mean, I lost everything. So then at that time, he heard like, he was just walking, and then he heard like some kartal kind of sound. He was like very surprised. Is this even kartal? And then he was looking around, and he saw like a van coming in that desert. And inside the van, there were like devotees on traveling Harinam party. So they were like chanting and traveling and shopping at different places. And then they saw this person, and then with the Kantimala, and then he explained the situation, and then they took him, and then they kind of rescued him. So this again shows how, I mean, Krishna might test us in different situations, but as long as we are, we are in the process of practicing bhakti, I mean, he will also come and save us. And again, this is the way Maya plays on us. So Maya is testing us. Maya is also Krishna's energy. She is Krishna's gatekeeper. So unless we are very much fixed to this process, we will not pass this test of Maya. So whatever happens, we have to always be stuck to this process. And yesterday we also heard from Arjun Shaka Prabhu that even Lord Shiva, who is like Vaishnavana Meda Shambhu, the best of Vaishnavas, he is always doing these things. Whenever there is like Bhagavad Katha, or whenever there's like Chaitanya Charitamrita or glorification of the Lord, he just runs. I mean, yesterday we saw how he kind of took extra effort to take Brahma's carrier swan, and then he rushed to hear Bhagavatam and Charitamrita. And then we also heard how in Rameshwaram he constantly chants the Lord's names like Ram, Ram, Ram. Sorry, in Kashi. And then we also heard how he is always interested in associating with devotees. Like Sanatan Goswami was about to leave temple, but then he made sure that he stays there and chants so he can associate. So if Lord Shiva, who is like Vaishnava Namita Shambhu, the best Vaishnava, and he always hears, chants, and associates, when it's a lesson for us also that whatever happens in our life, whatever hurdles we face in practicing bhakti, we should never give up this practice of bhakti. And as long as we are stuck, we have the faith and practice bhakti, then we'll always be protected. There might be situations where we see, we may not see the hand of Krishna. We may see why, we may wonder why this is happening, that is happening, but there is always a reason. And as long as we can pass that test at that time, then we will be successful in the end.